Welcome to my Aral Lakbay edition. I am Rema Martiliano from BSE 13 to teach you the proper communication etiquette in China. You heard it right, guys. Today, I will teach you the proper communication etiquette in China. Let's start. Let's travel from Philippines to China. Now we are here in China. As you can see behind my back is the Great Wall of China. Before we proceed to our Aral Lakbay, let me give you some trivia about the Great Wall of China. Did you know that the Great Wall of China became a UNESCO World Heritage Site in December 1987? The wall is the longest man-made structure in the world with a total length of about 13,170.7 miles or 21,196.18 kilometers. Let's proceed to the communication etiquette in China. First is the indirect communication. What do you think is the meaning of indirect communication? Chinese people rely less on words and are more attentive in posture, expression, and tone of voice. The purpose of this is to maintain harmony throughout the conversation and prevent a loss of face on either end of the exchange. What do you think is the meaning of refusal when it comes to communication etiquette in China? Refusal is a Chinese person's preoccupation with saving face, and politeness means they will seldom give a direct no or negative response. Therefore, focus on hints of hesitation and pay attention carefully to what they don't say and double-check your understanding. Lastly, we have flutter. What do you think is the meaning of flutter when it comes to communication etiquette in China? When relaying bad news, a Chinese person may smile and laugh to diffuse the uncomfortable situation.
The fourth one, the voice. In China, men generally speak louder than women. When a woman talks loudly, she may be considered to have bad manners. The fifth one, language. Standard Chinese, known as Putonghua or Mandarin, is based on the Beijing dialect and is the official national language. Most people can read, write, and speak Mandarin as it is taught in schools. Chinese is a tonal language, meaning that a single word may have multiple meanings depending on how it is pronounced. For example, the word ma can mean scold, linen, horse, or mother, depending on the tone used by the speaker. Many people will also use the language or dialect of their geographic region.
Non-verbal communication.
The first one, personal space. The Chinese tend to be comfortable standing just over an arm's length from one another. When meeting strangers, this distance will be farther. Second, physical contact. The Chinese generally do not touch people that are strangers to them unless it is unavoidable. However, close friends or the same gender may stand or sit close to one another or walk arm in arm. They will avoid touching during conversation unless it is to a family member, close friends, or a partner.
Third, eye contact. Direct eye contact is generally favored over indirect eye contact. It is considered a sign of politeness. When conversing with an unfamiliar elder, one may lower their head to lower their gaze. This is a sign of respect. Fourth, silence. Silence is an important and purposeful tool used in Chinese communication. Pausing before giving a response indicates that someone has applied appropriate thought and consideration to the question. This signifies politeness and respect. common for people to point with their index finger. This is not considered rude.
Beckoning. Beckoning is done by facing the palm of one's hand to the ground and waving one's fingers towards oneself. Next is feet. Displaying the soles of one's feet, using one's feet to move something or putting one's feet on furniture is considered rude. Next is whistling. Whistling is considered rude. Next is waving. A welcome or farewell signals, but could also be used in a dismissive manner. Next is pointing your finger. If you want to gesture to someone, don't point your finger to them. This is considered quite rude. Next is winking. Winking is a flirtatious gesture. Whatever you do, don't wink at a Chinese person. This is seen as a vulgar gesture. This gesture can be used to mean the number 7, number 8, and number 9. Now, let's go to the communication etiquette of Mexico. So what is indirect communication?
Mexicans are generally indirect communicators. They rarely give direct proposal or deliver delicate information in a blunt way. This is considered impolite. Instead, they tend to take a long-winded, roundabout approach to conveying their message sensitively and tactfully to avoid conflict or confrontation. This involves using gentler, more diplomatic expression to provide a negative answer in a more sensitive way. For example, they may say they will see what I can do instead of giving straight no.
Next, what is refusals?
Mexicans can be quite hesitant to give direct proposal. This can mean that they agree to do something they do not want to or cannot do in order to avoid sounding rude. If you ask a question that requires a direct yes or no answer, your Mexican counterpart may take some time talking inclusively before reaching their answer. It's intended to soften the words furthermore. If you receive a final answer that is unsettled, maybe let's wait and see or let me think about that. It is generally a good indicator that they mean.
What is language style?
When speaking in Spanish, Mexicans use a lot of diminutives to convey their meaning in a softened or more affectionate way. This is usually done by adding ito or ita to the end of a word. For example, they may refer to their abuelo, grandfather, as abuelito, meaning grandpapi, or they may say that a man is thin on top, calvito, instead of bald calvo.
What is slang? It's common to hear Mexicans say güey at the end of a sentence when talking to friends or those of the same status. This is a casual phrase that is the close equivalent of dude in English. For example, one might say sí güey, meaning yeah dude. Next is formality. There are different forms of expression in Spanish that communicate varying levels of courtesy and formality. The polite form of speech is to address people in the formal form of you, known as usted. This should be used when addressing anyone of a higher status out of respect. The informal you, known as tú, is generally used between people who know each other very well and among the youth. Inverted question marks. In the Spanish language, questions are written with an inverted or upside-down question mark at the beginning of the sentence. For example, ¿Cuántos años tienes? Or how old are you? Groups. They may talk over one another and allow their laughter to grow very loud. In these settings, it is generally acceptable to interrupt to be heard and join in with similar enthusiasm. Personal space. Mexicans typically stand quite close to each other while talking. Maintaining to create a distance from another person can be seen as unfriendly or standoffish.
Let's talk about the eye contact. It is appreciated and expected in Mexico to make a direct eye contact to the people or person that you are talking to. In fact, Mexicans have a habit of staring at you for a long period of time, but that is normal for them. Next is body language. So Mexicans tend to use many hands and arms throughout the discourse or communication, and later on we're going to tackle the hand gestures of the Mexicans because they have lots of it. And then people belongs to indigenous groups or communities a quiet and bashful temperament around the foreigners or urban inhabitants. I think they are just observer to the people that they are socializing with. So that's why they are quiet and bashful when they are with them. So next is gestures. So as you all know, Mexicans have lots of hand gestures because they use it for communication. So if you are planning to go there someday, is it important to learn their hand gestures, because you might be confused when you go there without knowing anything about it. So when you indicate yes in Mexico, you need to holding your index finger up and then curling it up and down repeatedly and quickly. That's how they do it. Like C. C means in Mexican is yes, same as Spanish, but they have different pronunciation. So when you indicate no, you need to shake your hands side by side, and then your index is pointed, and then your palm is facing outward, just like this. I think we have this kind of gestures here in the Philippines. Just like this. People do make a chopping motion, therefore, to ask you to give something or to give you a piece, just like this. That's how they do it. And I am curious about other countries' beliefs or cultures. That's why I learned this a year ago. And some of the things that I've learned is about their hand gestures is this. It means scary, and then it stings, and then we have this kind of hand gestures means to drink alcohol. I think we have this kind of gestures in the Philippines. So lastly is nodding. So they nod out of respect, but it doesn't mean that they agree for something that you are saying. For example, you are sharing your interest, your perspective to a group of people or the person. They nod for who you are. I mean, they respect for who you are, but it doesn't imply that they agree for something that you're saying. So be mindful.
Thank you for watching.